Hey everybody, my name's Aaron. Welcome back to the channel. Over the past few years, I've collected quite a few monitors, and you may have seen them on some of my recent videos taking up space out here on the ping pong table. And that's one of the drawbacks of these monitors. They do take up quite a bit of space. I need to go through these and test them and see which ones are working, which ones aren't, and out of those, which are worth saving. And then the ones that I can't save, I need to send to e-waste to clean up some space. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be taking a look at all of these monitors, from this big IBM monster back here to this small 1980s CCT monitor that might be perfect to go with my Apple One. It's coming up right now on the Retro Hack Shack. So the first monitor I want to take a look at is this Sanyo VM 4509. Now you might be thinking that this is the monitor that I used on the Apple One in that series up till this point, but actually that was a bigger monitor, and this is the little brother of that one. That one was the VM 4512, and this is the 4509. So they make a very cute pair. But I just happened to find this on top of a trash heap at the local e-waste. They were getting ready to send it off, and I begged the guy to let me have it, and he finally agreed to let me buy it from him. Now, taking a look at the back, you can see that it is quite dirty. However, it is almost identical to the back of the 4512 monitor. This one has the power cord cut, which unfortunately is the demise of many of these monitors because people don't want to mess with the cords when they're permanently attached, so they just cut them off. I may not have mentioned this in the last episode, but both this monitor and its bigger brother, the 4512, can be powered by 12 volts in any case. And taking a look at the label, you can see this particular monitor was manufactured in March of 1980. So I opened up the monitor and did a quick visual inspection, and here you can see perhaps some arcing going on around the flyback transformer. So that has me a little worried that this is going to work at all. I also was easily able to find the fuse, which tested out okay, and where the wires connected from the power cord to the board. So I went ahead and desoldered what was there, and then stripped down a new cord and soldered that one in. After that was done, I took it out to the ping pong table and gave it a thorough wipe down. This thing was, pretty gross. Had been sitting around for quite a while, probably in the same place for years and years. So I went ahead and gave it a good clean before testing it out. Now, because these monitors have both an input and an output on them, I was able to daisy chain the monitors up and test them out together, which I thought would be kind of fun. So I hooked the output of the big monitor up to the little monitor and turned on the Apple One. And luckily, it looks really, really good. It's kind of interesting to see these the big brother and the little brother side by side here. They're kind of cute, actually. But yeah, no problems with the video on this monitor. Everything's looking great. And actually, I think the smaller monitor will pair better with the Apple One because it'll be able to sit on top of the case once I get that finished. This next monitor is also a CCT composite monitor, and I have no idea who makes this. There was a piece of tape on top that said good, so I assume that somebody has at least powered it on and hopefully hooked up a signal to test it. It also has this little panel that opens up, exposing the controls for the monitor. And around back, we can see this one also has video in, video out, except these are standard BNC connectors, even though they take composite. And otherwise, just the power in. There's not even a manufacturer's date on this thing. So to test out these composite monitors, I'm going to be using my Apple IIc with the sacrificial lid that I burnt up on my bench with a candle. Yes, it was stupid, I know. You can see that episode if you want to see it. I'll put a link up above. But anyway, this should be perfect. I know it works. It has a good, strong composite signal coming out of it. So I'll be using some test programs to send a composite signal into this monitor. So let's take a look at this CCTV monitor, black and white, I assume. I assume it doesn't do color. but it did say good on the top. So let's just turn this on and see if it works. Okay, well, I heard the high voltage kick in. I have no idea. I'll have to remember to turn on my my filter for these monitors because I can't hear the high frequency sound that these monitors put out anymore because I'm old enough for that, but my kids can. And I don't want to alienate any viewers, so I'll have to try to remember to put on that filter. Anyway, so far I saw the picture tube light up, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and turn on the Apple IIc and see if we get anything on the screen. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. It's very bright. There we go. So I'm in the Apple IIc master diagnostic menu here. This looks good, but it looks, I don't know if you can see this on camera. There's some fringing here going on. It looks like things are stretched out. I'm just going to see if these dials are working in the front here. See if we can turn down the, okay. So that's the contrast. Contrast is all the way up. That helps a little bit if I go down to this. Let's just turn down the brightness maybe. Okay, brightness, that's good. And then the contrast, yeah. So this is fine. There's no problems with this at all. And turning the contrast down did help pull in, although they still look a little rounded, but it did help pull in the stretching that was going on there. So that's looking pretty good right now. Let's go ahead and fire up a monitor diagnostic. So we go down to 7 for the monitor routines. Okay, now let's just load up a test pattern and see what happens. Okay, so this is nice because it's giving me the edges of where the picture is here. So I can go back in here and center. Nope, that was already all the way over to the left. Let's see, does this need to go up or down? I can go down a little bit. So that's looking pretty good. And I can see all of the banding here in between the columns here on the shaders on the test pattern. So that looks really, really good. So I'm pretty happy. I think this monitor is going to work, but just for fun, let's go ahead and fire up the MECC diagnostics and see what that looks like. So this program is called Computer Inspector. Sorry for my handwriting there, but it's called Computer Inspector from MECC. And of course, MECC wrote a lot of software for the Apple II. So let's fire this up and see what it does. It's classic. Okay, so there's quite a bit of stuff here. Let's just hit the machine identification. Oh, and I like that this actually loads the whole program in, or it's a smaller program. So, you know, you don't have to wait for the disk to load every time like you do with the master diagnostics. But this tells us we have an Apple IIc, 128K of memory, and the various ports. These would be slots on the Apple IIe and earlier. So yeah, that looks good. Let's go ahead and see if we can test out the monitor. Monitor adjustment. And let's just do the normal test and graphics. Okay, that looks pretty good too. So this is a little bit more what you might expect to see from a game or something. You can see the various colors. This is obviously not a color monitor. We know that now, otherwise these would have colors on them. But that looks pretty good for a black and white monitor. I am noticing just a bit of skew up here, but it's not much. It's almost, you almost don't even see it when you're not looking for it. So that looks pretty good. This also has a 80 column test, and I think the Apple Master Diagnostics does as well, but let's just go ahead and try that out. And yeah, that's not bad. I can certainly see it and read it from about 3 feet away with my glasses on anyway. And even on this tiny little monitor, it's clear enough that I can see the graphics in 80 column mode. So yeah, I wouldn't want to use this all day long, but it does work and it looks really, really good. So I'm going to keep this little monitor, or perhaps see if some other retro collector needs it for their systems. So this monitor is a winner. Next up, we have a really interesting monitor from Hewlett-Packard. This monitor has kind of a lazy Susan swivel mechanism underneath that lets you rotate the monitor 360 degrees. And it also has a screen that tilts back and forth, which is very similar to an early Apple II monitor that Apple put out. So this thing lets you swivel and tilt in any direction so that you always have a good view of the screen. Looking at the back of the monitor, we can see this is an HP 35731A. And there's no date on the back of the monitor, but I did find an installation manual which dates at February of 1985. There's a number of ports on the back of this monitor, starting from left to right. We can see that there's a port for a keyboard and also to hook up to a control unit. So this would have been for an older HP server, basically, and it uses the HIL protocol that HP put out. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but I believe that was proprietary to HP and HP servers. There is the next port is a speaker port, so this monitor must have an internal speaker. And then there's a video in, looks like for composite. There's horizontal and vertical position adjustments. There's an image height switch, which changes the image height from full screen to like a quarter screen or a very small screen. There is not a voltage switch on my particular monitor, although there was a spot for one. And then, of course, we have the power connection. All right, so let's test out this Hewlett-Packard monitor. Ooh, okay. So this doesn't look good. You can see repeating patterns all over the place. Yeah, definitely not good. I don't know if changing any of this will help. The pots are a little dirty. Whoa. That's the narrowband switch there. Doesn't really help. So it could be that this particular monitor, because it's a terminal, is set for some sort of resolution that is specific to that terminal, and that's why it's not working. But I might just go ahead and open it up and see if there's any additional pots that can be turned to fix this, because if you have a scratchy pot on the inside on one of the fine-tuning potentiometers, there may be some scratchiness. It may not be making a good connection at all, and so you may end up with this type of screen. So I might just crack this open and see if there's anything inside that we can look at. I could only find 4 screws on the bottom of the case for the monitor, but here's a closer look at how the little dolly works to move the monitor around. Well, I took all the screws out, but I'm having a hard time getting the monitor out of the case. There's only screws on the bottom and not the top. But I read online that there's a way to get the brown bezel off, and then that will expose some additional screws. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try putting this all the way up and then seeing if... Oh, yeah, that does come right off, just like they said in the post. Look at that. And sure enough, now I can see there's a couple extra screws back here that I most likely need to take out. Of course, you can also, it looks like, service the tube itself from the front, which is odd. At least not what I'm used to anyway. So interesting design here. So here's the inside of the HP monitor. You can see they've got some struts here to keep things really nice and sturdy, which is great. I guess those are needed because the monitor tilts up and down freely on a hinge, and it's not permanently affixed to the front casing like it is on most monitors. Other than that, it's pretty standard fare. We've got the transformer, power transformer, flyback transformer. Here's the speaker over here. So we'll have to test that out later and see if that works. That's kind of neat to have. From what I can see, all the capacitors in here, there isn't anything that's obviously broken. There is a refa cap down there. There's 2 refa caps, it looks like. If those went bad, then it wouldn't even power up. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. Some easy fix like that I can do pretty quickly to get monitors back working. In this case, the monitor seems to be working okay. There are also a few potentiometers down here those are the ones that I want to test and see if they're sticky, see if maybe somebody's been in here adjusting those incorrectly, and that's why the picture isn't working. Okay, I found a horizontal hold pot in here. Let's see if that does anything. Oh, 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 oh. That's doing something. Oh, it's almost there. Look at that. At least I can read it now. Okay, well, I looked at all the resistors, capacitors, everything in that horizontal hold area, and I couldn't see anything wrong. So I know I said I was going to be taking these to e-waste, but I can't bring myself quite to take this one there just yet. If you have an idea for what might be wrong with this monitor, let me know in the comments below, and I might make this another episode where I come back and try to fix this, because it is cool. I'd love to have a green phosphor monitor like this, especially one that comes from HP. It's on a little swivel stand. It's pretty neat. So let me know if you have any ideas.
Look at my happy guy. Oh, just a happy guy. Oh, just a look at that, the happy dog. Oh, just a happy dog.
So next up, I want to take a look at this IBM 15V monitor, which apparently came from Santa Cruz or was going to Santa Cruz. Somebody really likes Santa Cruz. I don't know what's going on here. And this one has some interesting touch controls down at the bottom. Instead of physical switches, it just has these plastic dome contact switches down here at the bottom. And taking a look at the back, we can see that even though this monitor is called 15V on the front, we have the actual IBM model number on the back of 6325-001, and it was manufactured in February of 1994. Okay, so let's test out this IBM monitor from Santa Cruz, apparently. So I've got this up on some ping pong paddles just to make it so that I can have access to the panel here, as I might need that. I've got the laptop plugged in. And by the way, for these tests with the VGA, I'm using a more modern laptop, this IBM ThinkPad or Lenovo ThinkPad T430, since I know that'll support different resolutions out on its VGA port. I don't have, most of my laptops are old enough that they may not support up to 1024 by 768, at least the ones that I can put my hands on right away. So I'm using this 5-6-year-old laptop, whatever it is, I don't know exactly, to test this out. So that should work fine. It's just running Linux Mint, I think. Okay, so let's turn it on and see what happens. Definitely getting power. Okay, so I get a light that comes on and then it goes off right away. So that makes me think that perhaps there's a power supply issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this, or take this thing apart real quick, just to see if there's anything obvious inside, something shorting the power supply. And if I can find something, great. If not, well, I guess this will be going to e-waste. Let's take a look. Okay, well, even to take a quick peek at this thing was really difficult. It took me about 2 hours to get the case off. It only had a couple of screws here, and then one here in the middle, which kind of keeps this board from wiggling around. Took those 3 out, but the back of the monitor would not come out. Well, after about 2 hours of prying, shining flashlights in, and trying all kinds of different things, finally I found that there was these tabs on the top here, and if you push in, they're meant to spring like that, and if you push in, that releases this top part of the case. So if you're ever working on one of these IBM monitors from this thing, or from this period, you know, just keep that in mind, that these tabs, there was just a tiny little hole here where you could stick a really, really small screwdriver in or something. And I tried that at first, but I guess I didn't push hard enough. I didn't want to break things. And if I had pushed a little harder, it would have saved me a couple hours of prying. You can see all the marks around the outside, because at that point I was like, screw it, I don't care anymore. The monitor isn't working. I just want to get inside and see what's inside. So one of the things that hopefully you can see right in here is a reefa cap. And that's kind of what I was wondering. I wasn't sure if they were still using REFAs in the early 90s, but I guess they were. Now, this isn't one of the resin kind with the hard plasticky shell on the outside like this one, which is brand new, by the way. You can still buy these, and I bought a bunch of them to replace these on old equipment in case I ever need them. So this one is more of like a ceramic package. I want to be a little careful here. Yeah, that REFA is could be the culprit. I think it's worth taking that out because you can run without that in place. Now, in the long run, you may want to put it back, but you should be able to run without the REFA in place. And I think I can even get in here and measure this REFA cap to see what it shows on the meter. If I take the REFA cap that I know is good because it's brand new, I take a look at the resistance of that, it's going to measure in the mega ohm range. In this case, 23, 21. It'll go down because this is a cap, but when I first measure it, it's going to measure in the 20 mega ohm range. And when I measured this one, it measures 57 ohms. So there could be another resistor. There certainly could be a 57 ohm resistor somewhere across the mains like that. I've seen that before where it's a big power resistor or something. It's possible that that is there. But I'm just going to go ahead and take that out since I'm essentially going to send this to e-waste anyway if it doesn't work. Might as well take that out and see if that fixes the problem. Now, I have looked in here at the other caps. I don't see anything that shows immediate signs. It's going to get kind of dark in there. Immediate signs of some sort of catastrophic failure. But I've looked in here, at least on a visual inspection, and I don't see anything that looks like it's gone bad. I don't see any blown fuses. In fact, I don't see any fuses in here. So, yeah, just going to take that REFA cap out and see if this thing will run. Yeah, so I took that REFA cap out, and as expected, don't know if you can see my meter, but if I just measure this out of circuit, it comes back in the mega ohm range, which is what the other cap was doing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and turn it on, see if it blows up. And also I can, then I'll connect it up to the laptop, see if we get a picture. So I'm going to be paying attention to the power light and just see if this comes on and goes off again like it did last time. So it comes on, immediately goes off. Yeah, something's shorted there. So it's not worth going through and checking every resistor and every capacitor and finding out where the problem is, but there's something definitely shorted probably in the power supply area or someplace else on the board. And so this particular monitor will be going to e-waste. So next up we have this generic monitor, very generic looking, but very clean. I will say it's the best looking and probably the newest monitor in the bunch. And as you can see by the back label, this is an RIC, very generic, not much on the back here, manufactured in May of 2000. Apparently, I did some research and RIC stands for Royal Information Electronics, don't know where the C comes from, out of Taiwan. And around this time, around 2000, monitors started to get a little bit more stylish and less boxy. And you can see the pattern here on the side, which actually doesn't look too bad. Okay, so let's test out this no-name monitor from 2000. Certainly the newest monitor that I own, the newest CRT monitor that I own. So if any of them work, I would expect this one to. So let's just turn it on and see what happens. Oops. There we go. Oh, heard a nice click there. Yeah, there is a little LED there. And it's coming on with some diagnostics. So this is looking very, very good. Just go ahead and hook this up to the laptop. And let's see, this is set for 800 by 600. Let's go ahead and set this a little higher. 1024 by 768. Hit apply. Donk. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It's a little dim. Let's see if we can adjust the controls here. All right, so I don't know if you can see this, but there's a fair amount of flicker on the screen. It's not terrible on Windows. It was worse on Linux. But yeah, there's a little bit of flicker here on the whites. Otherwise, this is a fairly okay monitor. So I may keep it around just to play with, and you know, it does work. So I think this one can stay. It's pretty generic, but so far so good. So up next we have this huge and heavy IBM G94 monitor. This thing is very classic in terms of its coloring. It almost looks like a PS2 style monitor. And you can see even the buttons down here are really interesting, both in the color scheme and the layout. So I'm anxious to see what the on-screen display looks like for this one. On the side, you can see that there was even a driver disc included with this monitor when I got it. And I assume those tabs that are there are to perhaps attach a speaker to the side of the monitor. Taking a look at the back, it doesn't seem like there's much going on here besides the power and the VGA cord, but upon closer inspection, you can see the date of manufacture was April 1998, and there's this little door that opens up revealing a slot. It appears that you could actually hook up a USB hub, which for 1998 seems very early for USB, so that's interesting that this monitor had that feature. Now, like I said, this thing is really heavy, and I wanted to see just how heavy it was. So I took it over to the Wii and fired up Wii Fit. And although the Wii thinks that one of our old pet profiles has gained 37.9 pounds, you can actually see how heavy this thing is. 55 pounds. This thing, you do not want to move it around very often. Okay, so it's time to test this massive IBM monitor. Classic labeling, PS2 look. This thing is just fantastically huge. So yeah, let's see if it works. Let's hit the power button. Oh, degauss. I don't know if you could hear that. It sounded like a slinky in a cave. But look at that. It's coming up. It looks like it's working. Wow, that looks awesome. Not sure what this little thing does here. Oh, and here's the controls. These look so old school compared to new monitors. Pretty cool. Now can this thing, oh yeah, this thing controls the interface here. You rotate it to get what you want. That's interesting. I wonder if I can hit reset and just reset this to whatever the default settings are. Reset all settings. Yes. Ah, there we go. So it automatically got things in line now, and I can see very, very clearly this monitor actually looks fantastic. So I am in 1024 by 768. Let me switch to something that has more color on it so we can take a look and see what this actually looks like. So I'm not sure if you can see, I'm still getting some graininess here. I'm going to have to take a look at this video later and see if it's coming through. But I'm seeing some grainy lines across the screen when I look at something that's white. Otherwise, it looks really, really good. So yeah, this is looking pretty good so far. I'm going to have to try a different computer too to see if that cleans up that signal a little bit, because it could be the signal that's coming out of the laptop. All right, so here's a look at the Retro Hack Shack website. It's a good one because I use all kinds of like pinks and purples and blues and different colors, and you can see just how vivid that is. Hopefully that's coming across in the video. Let me just start one of my videos and see what it looks like. Yeah, so there you go. That looks really, really good to me. It's not quite as bright as the LCD on my laptop, of course, but it is very vivid. Yeah, it's a little bit stretched out given this, the way the display is set up here. So perhaps I can fix that. But so far, this is looking really, really good. And here we can see the monitor status. It is reading a horizontal frequency of 60 kilohertz. Whoops. And a vertical frequency of 75 hertz. So pretty cool. So I've adjusted the camera now to 75.3, the shutter speed to 75.3, and it should be matching now. So it should have, hopefully it will eliminate that flickering that you saw earlier, but you can see just how sharp and nice this thing is even after all these years. So even though this thing weighs 55 pounds, it's still a really nice monitor, and I definitely think I'm going to keep this monitor for sure. You can see just how nice everything looks on it. Granted, like I said before, the resolution is stretched out because the aspect ratio here is different than the aspect ratio on my LCD screen, which I'm used to viewing. So it's cropped over here on the LCD screen, but over here it's full size, and it just looks fantastic. Again, you know, my videos are done 16:9 ratio, so it's kind of cropped it on the display that way, but I can't tell you how good this IBM monitor actually looks. I'm super impressed. And as it's been running, the banding that I saw as it's warmed up, I think has disappeared. Let me just exit out of this video and we'll see. I can still see some. I don't know if you can pick that up on the video. I can still see some horizontal artifacts there. So, but it's been so long since I've used CRT on a daily basis. I think those were there in most of the, in a lot of the connections, just based on either interference or whatever. So maybe there's some filtering that's not quite as good as it should be after all these years, but it just looks really, really sharp, crisp, and nice. So yeah, this is definitely going to stay with me, and I'll probably be using it on upcoming videos just because it looks so nice. So I was able to actually find the user guide for this particular manual, and boy, if this doesn't scream out mid-90s marketing to you, I don't know what does. The guy with the glasses and the reflection of the monitor, it's great. But what really surprised me was the resolutions that this thing supports. This supports up to 1600 by 1200 resolution at 75 hertz. Not only that, but combining that with the USB in the back, and this was definitely a graphics workstation monitor, I think. Okay, so I pulled out another laptop to test with. This is a little bit of an older model. I actually did a video on this. This is the HP OmniBook 800 CT. You might remember. I did a video on this a while ago. If not, I'll try to link it up above and you can go take a look at that. Where the laptop was working, I just wanted to explore it, see how it worked. Really small, cute little laptop, but it does have VGA output built in. And the best part about this laptop that I love is the little secret mouse button here. When you push that, the little mouse pops out. And you can use the mouse. It's just super cool. I love that little feature. Anyway, this is a ultra small notebook for the time, but let's go ahead and turn this on. I've got the display on and running, and that I noticed that the high voltage, when you disconnect the signal, the high voltage automatically stops, which is a great feature. So I guess that's an energy saving feature, I would imagine, but when there's no signal detected, it just turns off the high voltage. And so that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and turn on this laptop and see if it'll work with this big IBM monitor. This is a little bit more of a period type. I don't know if anyone would do this with a laptop this small and a monitor this big. It's kind of funny. But anyway, at least it's a little bit more in the same time range, these two devices here. So let's turn this on and see what happens. Okay, I can hear the laptop starting up. High voltage comes on. So there's nothing on this screen. So I guess it's automatically going to detect and display over here. Yeah, here we go. Starting Windows 95. Let me see if I can get rid of that flicker. Okay, well, this is as good as I'm going to get. You can probably see just a little bit of a line going down from time to time, but it's not too bad. At least you can see the quality here of the picture. And I'm just looking, it does look pretty clean. Let me open up something that's white so we can see if I can see that flickering or the horizontal flickering that was going on before. Good old Word 97 Plus should work. Yes, I can still see just a little bit of flicker going on here. It's not bad, but I can see it. So again, this just could be because my eyes are used to ultra sharp, high refresh rate monitors of today, but this looks good. I could definitely use this, and this is by far, out of the 6 monitors that I've tested, this is the best looking one. Not only because it's big, but it's just sharp. It just seems to work really, really well. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's so heavy, but I'm definitely going to be keeping it. The base is cracked, so I need to do something, maybe 3D print something to fix the base so the base doesn't come off. But otherwise, I would say this one is a winner. So overall, I must say I'm really excited that all these monitors work. Unfortunately, it didn't thin out the herd as much as I was kind of hoping it would. I've still got that HP monitor that I want to go back and probably do another look at, maybe do another quick video on the channel to try to figure out what's going on there, because I think it is fixable. This monitor is a great find. I don't remember, I think I paid for this, but I don't remember how much. Really glad to have this, and as you can see, it's running Doom just fine off of this tiny laptop, no problem. So looks great on games as well. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited about the outcome of the video, and sometimes you just need to go through and test these things. I've got a ton of stuff in the garage waiting to be just sitting there because it hasn't been tested yet. So you can expect to see not only this monitor again, but a lot more IBM and laptop videos coming up on my channel as I start to pull some of those out and go through and test them and see if I can get them working again. I love the fact that I can save some of these monitors. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them yet. They certainly can't live on the ping pong table forever, so I've got to find a place. But other than that, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. If you are a patron, then hang on after the video for the after video commentary. If you're not a patron, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/retrohackshack and sign up.
End of line.